It's day 2, hour 2.
Yeah.
So far so good. The back is holding. We can still walk. Yeah.
Understand. Cool. So a year ago, we started on this journey, right? We announced with our partnership with Sinclair, kind of redoing some of the broadcast stations, working towards building it with our partner Amagi, working within the cloud. How's that going? How are you guys doing so far on that? We're a year in.
That actually, to be fair, it's more than a year in.
Yeah.
Like this journey started like probably 3-4 years ago when we started the architecture, looking actually at the solution, the design, even the org chart of the whole company will have to adapt to this strategic move for us. A year ago, what you said, a year ago, that's actually when we start deployment. So and now that's actually a year in. We already have 55 channels, 50 stations on the cloud, and different affiliate, different networks, different use cases. And we still have more to go. But so far, it's been actually a really good journey. As actually Steve was introducing, it's not only the cloud piece. We have multiple work stream working from the production, the ingest, to the distribution, the playout. So it's not only me, but actually there's a lot more people, a lot of work that have been done over the last year.
Yeah. Awesome. That's really great. And, we heard Lucy, your CFO, speak at the Devoncroft yesterday. Really great information there. If you have a chance, kind of check it out. But what are some of the key benefits that you guys have really been able to achieve and grow through this? Not just again through cost savings and the way you kind of built it, but I mean the change in your workflow, right? Because this is a whole new way of doing things. What are some of those key benefits you've seen?
Yeah. So before the benefit, the why it started is like the way Sinclair works. We have multiple stations. A lot of those stations, sometimes they share in the same content. They share in the same feed. They have similar operations. So this journey started by saying, if we're airing 60 times the same file, does it make sense to every station have its own copy of the same file and air it? Does it make sense that every single station is in charge of its own QC, delivery, troubleshooting, and airing it? If you say it like that, it's almost like it's common sense to say no. So the logic we started when we start doing this is centralizing everything we're doing. So we say, instead of doing it 60 times, we will only want to do it one time, maybe 2 for redundancy. But that's the logic. That's the premise of everything we're doing. So it started from, I need this file only once. I need to move it only once. I don't need to process it 60 times. So we need a centralized actually approach. That's how it started. So everything about the deployment is basically the execution. But the idea at the beginning, the strategic move is having it centralized and avoid actually the multiple tasks that we can do day in, day out 60 times. That's how we started. And that was actually how the saving and the business model is based on. It's not about doing it 60 times. It's like doing it, I would call it better because now we have the feedback that we can claim it's better. But it's just a common sense at some point that the saving is coming from changing the architectures, changing the workflows, and also following things that if you do it 60 times, just do it once and do it once good. Actually, it's better.
Yeah.
And that's been our basically driving vision since we started doing it. Every single time we're changing something, the question that we ask ourselves across all the company, is there a better way of doing it? Mm-hmm. There is that we're going to find out down the road. And actually it happens over the year. We're asking what happened over the year. There is already something today that we say, oh man, we could have done it differently if we knew this and this and that. That's why it's a journey. We still have a lot more channel to do. And you always have new business models that come in tied to the new way of doing it. You will have our friendly HDR people coming in and say, hey, I have a new format that I want to push in. How hard is it? Not at all. We pick the partner. Like I'm talking here with a number of partners working with AWS. We're doing it with Amagi. We're working actually with other partners that are giving us the feed. And we say the way we're building it is flexible because we know that we have to change the format, we can. If we need to change the triggers for ad insertion, we can. If you have someone that says, we need maybe to monetize it better, we can still do it. Mm-hmm. Not on day one. It's going to take some time, but at least we're building the foundation to be flexible. So every time there's a new business case, we can sit and won't say, oh, we're stuck. I don't mean it the wrong way, but we're stuck with this hardware that we made this CapEx investment like last year. And then you say, oh, we're going to talk about it 3 years from now because we need to amortize it. So that's the piece where we're trying actually to avoid as we move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And, we've worked not just with you and Sinclair Broadcast, but also on the digital side. And there's a lot of synergies that we're seeing in your ability to, again, simplify your operations, being able to move that video content from, your side of the house and broadcast over into a digital properties, kind of keeping everything again in that same kind of space. What other challenges do you think you guys have seen, maybe even on the ground, right? As you guys have done some of this, you had to do station refreshes. What are some of those things that you've kind of seen as you've worked through this?
Some of the station we've done is areas where we had to improve because, like, for example, we're talking about security. We're talking about latency. We're talking about new concepts that fundamentally has to change. Now we're moving everything to the cloud, so everyone from the company or certain people need to have access to certain content at a certain time, not everyone. So all this work has been across multiple departments, and actually we have like security department, we have FinOps, and all those we've been asking them a lot because we're working together. So there is like areas where sometimes we keep changing it because we have new requirement, but we have actually areas where we start doing a lot better than we've done before. And actually that was one of the biggest challenges. And the second one is it's always a change. Like is a change for the stations, for us, for everyone, is a change of the way we operate. It's better. If you look at it from 10,000 view, it's better. For the day to day, it's just a change.
Yeah.
So that's something that we've been doing, like trainings, for example. We've been doing more trainings than we ever done before because this is actually new concept, is new architecture. So all those come together. That's why I'm saying there's a lot of more people that get involved into this process. And something that might silly, like you were asking the feedback from the station, we've been always continuous improvement. We do something, we ask for feedback, and we've been deploying, I said, like 55 channels. We've been reviewing the process almost every 2 or 3 stations. How can we do better next time? And we've been actually reducing the deployment time just because we're working together. Oh, now I know that this department needs to get in before because I need everything, all the infrastructure to be ready before even we can deploy anything else. So we've been improving actually our deployment planning, and we've been improving the deployment time. Like we're down to, we can go to a station, move them to the cloud within a couple of weeks. Couple of weeks, we can have actually the stream with his schedule, with the media, with the feeds, ready to go on air within a couple of weeks. Couple of weeks, I'd say like a year from now, it's barely enough to get one server to the place to get it racked and deployed.
Yeah.
And we're doing it 2 weeks because a lot of people will learn how to work together. Everyone is basically, I know when this is going to happen. And we have actually also help from other people like Deloitte, for example, that can help us build a schedule, improve it as we move forward.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And it's been really interesting to work with you guys on this journey and see, again, it starts with broadcast, but again, we've gone into new other areas where you've had to transform and work on the business, right? From a support operation, you guys now have set up what you call MTOS, right? And so MTOS is your support center where you're able to centralize some of these, if there's some type of issue on the ground or some type of status message needs to be displayed. Can you talk a little bit about like MTOS and kind of where that
Absolutely. So that's the media operation that we have, and that the principle is pretty simple. Like as I said, like we're moving from receiving 60 files that are going to air to only one. The benefit of that is when there's an issue, you only need to fix it once for everyone. But on the downside, if it's wrong, it could be wrong for 60 people. So that's why actually we have this centralized group that actually 24/7 supporting all the stations. And that's actually when now it maybe sounds like a common sense, but one file get wrong, they jump on it, and they send notification to everyone. Hey, we know that there is a repeat of Big Bang Theory episode 6 that's coming up today. Please air this version. We already validated. It's good to air. One guy got email, one guy validated, 60 station now can air it. So it's also being proactive on those actions instead of waiting for, the first station that needs to air it found the issue, and now we need actually to fix it for the remaining 59 or whatever the number is. So that's why, like the MTOS, that's actually was a key component of the vision. Would say, like, as we're growing, as we have more and more station, supporting the station is a key piece actually for our deployment and success.
Yeah, awesome. No, that's really great. And obviously, you've got a lot more stations to do, right? We've got a lot, be able to reduce that lead time as we go through it. But we've also talked about, at this show, we're talking later around remote production, news production. Can you guys tell us what's your next step? What's the next thing you guys are kind of looking at? Because this is like a holistic journey you're on.
Yeah. So the next step for us, I would say like 2 or 3 key points. The first one is the news production. So we're not only doing the playout in the cloud, we're doing the origination from the news all the way to the end. The second part will be probably the distribution. Like now, if you want to have access to our feed, you don't need to go back to the station and pick it up over the air. We can hand it to you directly from the cloud. So you don't need the downlink. You don't need another IRD. You don't need another link to send it. You can just get it from the cloud. Entitlement, we work with AWS to make it secure, and we can actually hand off the feed direct to us. And the third piece is make sure that we can generate all the stream directly from the cloud. The first phase that we're talking about, we still have pieces that we're working on, like ES, emergency alert systems, some pieces of the graphics that were like complex enough that we said, we're going to take the playout first. We work with the vendors, we work actually with our partners to make sure it's ready, and then we take it off. The idea behind is, if it doesn't need to be on the station, it should not be there, period. And today, if we're bringing it because there is a weather alert system box that still needs to be on-prem, those are the pieces that we're working on to improve. So ideally, is once the system goes to the cloud, it leaves the cloud ready for air. And then you can deliver it for our station, our partners, our digital side for actually their website. You can have fast channel delivery, everything you can come in. We can make almost multiple deliveries. If you need it slightly different, that's fine. We can actually replace this graphic, this bug, this commercial, put these triggers, but you pick it up directly from the cloud. And I think that was the key idea behind, and that's where we're going next. I hope we're going to have the same call next year, and I will tell you. Remember what I told you last year? Now we have this and this and this done, and now next step is we need to work on getting a new monetization. We need to get new triggers actually so we can trigger different replacement downstream. There is always new business models that we can look at, and we can actually also improve our execution as well.
There's always more work to be done. Definitely, that's for sure. Through this process, right? What have been, if you were to give the audience here, right, like some takeaways, some lessons learned, like what are the things that you think you've seen be really, really successful in kind of the way you guys have approached all of this? I know there's been a lot of, working, collaborating and things like that within Sinclair, but what are some of the big things?
One thing, don't wait until everything is figured out before you start, because we didn't have it all figured out when we started. Like, get your basement done, and actually you will improve as we go forward. Otherwise, we will still working on getting the iPhone 15 without having the iPhone 1 out. So we're still actually we still just start somewhere. It's better than not starting. Get the foundation right. There is actually areas that you cannot start without. Security. If your infrastructure is not secure, don't start. If you're missing a feature from a vendor, if a vendor actually is missing this, is actually your architecture is a little bit redundant, because I'm saying we have, instead of moving from 65 to one file copy, if we're moving from 60 to 5, so be it. It's still an improvement from 60 to 5. If you have to send your live feed to AWS, if you have to send it twice for 2 different regions for redundancy, what you could have done it slightly better, so be it. I mean, I'm not sure, I think some finance guy will come after me and say, hey, let's be concerned about the cost, which is true. That's why it's part of the foundation. But it will be lying to say we have it all lined up on day one before we start. That's not true. We tried. Some of things we didn't work. We improved. Something we did work, and which we doubled down to better improve it. And we've been adjusting as we move forward. That was one thing, but it was a long thing, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a continuous integration cycle, right? And we partner with you and other customers in the long term to really push forward and, again, work with you, the industry, the partners, our great partners like Deloitte and Amagi, to kind of work together to make a solution for our customers, because we see it as something that's pushing the industry forward as we kind of go forward with these things.
And also, we're happy to share our experience. We truly believe that the more people going through this journey, the better we're all going to become. I'm not saying we have it figured out. We still have things to improve. If you have another company, another use case, trying to do the same thing that we're doing, we'll be more than happy to share, because sharing means actually we'll have better feedback for the vendors, better solution, better partners, and that's how it's going to work. Like, we've been working on some stuff that I'm pretty sure the next guy that's going to try to do the same thing is going to be slightly easier for him. So we hope that this next guy going to fix something that's going to be easier for us as well. So that's why we're trying actually to share our feedback, get all the vendors on board if they want to. We're happy to share.
Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, I don't know how much time we have left. Are there any questions that we might want to go ahead and take?
We've got 10 minutes, Adam. So we've got plenty of time for Q&A from the audience. Who's going to be brave? Oh, here we go.
Where do you do your audio?
Where is the audio in the cloud or is it on the ground?
So
we're talking about like cloud production, in-use production. So in the control room, are you streaming all the audio straight to the cloud and mixing the cloud, embedding in the cloud, or is that a mix?
On the production piece, we're trying to get everything embedded as much as we can. And the reason is mainly around the timing. We're doing that for the audio. We're doing that for the data. We try to fix everything to the same timestamp, to the same.
But you're doing that on the ground or in the cloud?
We do it on the cloud. Yeah.
Okay.
So the news production, the finalized piece of news production is not coming up yet. So we're talking about the cloud, the playout and the cloud distribution, and everything is in the cloud. One of the pieces that we're still doing on-prem today was actually I'll call it like the Calm Act. Just like one of the pieces we're still doing at the stations are everything tied to, everything tied to the Calm Act, to the audio processing. We're still doing it on-prem. For a simple reason is, I was talking before, is there is still some devices at the station, like the ES and the weather alert. So we want actually to have the last audio processing for Nielsen processing and watermarks at the last step, so it doesn't get impacted by any audio processing upstream.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions? Oh, here we go.
Thanks very much for this. You talked about structural change being forced through this. Can you speak more about that across the organization? You're talking specifically about how you're doing it, but I'm curious about the structure across leadership, editorial, production, services, and maybe speak about what's happened or maybe where it might be going next, what we'll hear a year from now.
That's actually a good question. So I was talking about the organizational change that we had to support the project, to launch it, how we were talking about the MTOS, our support group. Those are things that didn't exist before that we had to put together. At the station level, that's why we're following a specific order of the station. The reason was coming also from aging equipment that we have on site. So operators that are sitting on the station, instead of operating a server that used to be next to the room, now is operating a server that are in the cloud. So that piece has not changed. What changed is the operational, like the operational process. Now they have direct line with this MTOS in case something is happening. And also, there was like slightly a change of work because now we don't need to QC 60 times the same file. For example, I just go back to the same example. So that has been the change that happened. Like, hey, you don't need to do this anymore. It has been done already. But all the support, those are new organization changes that we have to put together. And tying everything, the support with the network infrastructure, with the security, with the ingest, all those new components, we were actually putting them together as we go.
Hi, I saw there was a recent blog post about Sinclair and AWS demoing content credentials for digital watermarking. I'm not sure if either of you could speak more about that.
Yeah, so that was our C2PA workload. So I was one of the authors on that post. We worked with Sinclair and our prototyping team to develop a system to do a metadata sidecar, if you will, for different files they went through their system. We worked through that with our prototyping team to build it for Sinclair and kind of an open standard. There's, like you said, the blog post. There's also the repository that is on GitHub that is open sourced if you wanted to look at and kind of get through there.
And that's going with what we're saying. Like, we're trying, like, the reason of having it open source and making the post was also to get more people on board. Because if you're the only one that's doing the watermark, it's kind of like, it's more interesting if other people are doing it at the same time in the same way. That's why we're trying to be open about how we're doing stuff and had more people on board so we can discuss it. If we're changing it, let's change it together instead of you're doing solution A, solution B. So even the vendors, the partners that we're working with, it's easier integration, easier support, faster time to market, and so on.
I think we have time for maybe one or two final questions, if anyone... No. Okay. Walid, Adam, thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause.